What a week in professional wrestling, man. That has been crazy.
I know, the tampon spot, right? That's what we're talking about.
Well, yeah,
Oh
that and all of the other things. Hey, look at
I
it.
haven't been saying that in a while.
Yeah.
I'm in the Doom, guys. It's 1992 WCW.
Absolutely, Taskmaster. Taskmaster, brother Travis.
B-Double, what's going on, man? It's been way too long since we've done this isn't a proper show, but it's close to a proper show.
Hey, man, it took a little more setup than I would have preferred, but hey, we have to talk. Like, it's been a crazy week, yo.
It's definitely been interesting, man. You know, we haven't done a real show together in a while. That's on me. I've been working 70-hour weeks and having more car issues than I care to admit, and a slew of just wonderfully fun, not fun adult things.
Well, you know, so, Cody would be proud of you. You know, he stands by that whole spend it now, make more later. So you're doing good there.
Yeah. Cody would be very proud of me, because that's exactly what I did. I had a car break on New Year's Eve. The motor blew up. So, and you know, I did the responsible thing and went out and bought a brand new Lincoln. So, yeah. So it's spend now and make later, right? Something
Absolutely.
like that.
Yep,
so,
yep.
All right. I mean, it's
where
good
to start, yo.
So, you know, it's not like we missed a whole lot. I haven't.
It's not like we missed a lot. I mean, this weekend alone, there was the
exception. But I haven't watched a WWE product, not a full product. I'll watch some highlights on YouTube from Monday shows. I'm completely unsubscribed from the network following Crown Jewel. You know, we did boycott Crown Jewel. I unsubscribed when they decided to go through with it. And I haven't gone back to the network. I haven't watched a full Raw or SmackDown since then. Just watching kind of highlights, because I've been so disinterested in the product. And I'm not the only one. The ratings bear that out.
Absolutely.
Record low ratings, just terrible booking across the board. You know, the marks are going to defend it. Those WWE marks, they just continue to defend it no matter what crap is on your television. But I pretty much walked away for pretty much the month of December. Like, I wasn't hardly following at all. Had the holidays and everything. And AEW, Wrestle Kingdom to a degree.
Yeah,
Wrestle Kingdom. And transparency here, and I don't want to talk a lot of Wrestle Kingdom because I'm still working my way through it. I'm really busy, and we've talked about this. It's a marathon show, but
you heard of the big announcement for next year?
What's the big announcement for next year?
Wrestle Kingdom, big announcement for next year. 2 days. It's like a 2-day show.
I had not heard.
And then, of course, the third day is New Year's Dash, so 3-day show.
That's insane.
Yeah.
This is what I'm talking about. So I'm still working my way through Wrestle Kingdom, but what motivated me really, you know, today was a huge motivator, because we learned more. And I really want to take time tonight to break down All Elite Wrestling, dispel some myths. You know, we do have probably triple the information that we had coming out of today as we did going into today.
Sure.
We saw some talent announced. If you just are looking, and I am going to turn a little bit of a critical eye on it, because I think there are still a lot of questions that need to be answered. We don't know if this is going to be a successful promotion, but there are some really good signs. So, yeah, I was really excited today. I watched the whole festivities live.
Is that the first time you watched the entire thing on Being the Elite?
That is not the first thing I've watched on Being the Elite.
Okay.
I've watched, like, I tried to get into it. We've had this conversation. I watched and I tried to get into it, and it just wasn't my style of thing. It was too lucha-y, like Lucha Underground. That's why I struggled to get into Lucha Underground. It's too movie-like, too Hollywood-ish. And it's not that I like. It's just not for me. It's good. I've watched it. It's really well produced. they're doing a great job with it. It's just not for me. But yeah, I definitely tuned in today live. And well, let's start there, Bob, because Conrad announced in the middle of the festivities that they had exceeded 100K live viewers. Okay.
Yeah.
And I believe that because I was watching on YouTube, watching on the Being the Elite channel, and there were just under 60K watching when I was watching. It said like 60, I think 59 or 60K.
Yep.
I checked the views just before we started, and it was 252,000 views on the Being the Elite video on YouTube. That's views. I'm sure some folks have rewatched it. But
so you're saying we need a multi-million-dollar backer for Smarkdown Radio to get our views up?
Well, I'd be okay with that. I'm sure. Then I wouldn't have to broadcast from the Dungeon of Doom, right? Like we could just take everybody to every show, get lots of interviews. Anyway, my point being, let's believe what they're saying, because it's entirely believable that they had over 100,000 people watching live. Between it was live on Instagram, it was live on Facebook, it was live on YouTube, it was live broadcast to Twitter. Okay.
The only place that didn't go live was Twitch, which kind of surprised me, considering all those guys have one.
Well, you never know. That's the avenues. The big avenues were hit. Yeah. So Instagram, Facebook, YouTube are kind of like, and Twitter. Yeah, I mean, it probably just redirected.
They were on Facebook too, weren't they? On the Young Bucks page.
Yep. Yeah, they were. So 100,000 viewers. Looking at 60K live that I could see on YouTube. It's entirely believable, and I don't think they would announce that number. Being able to not confirm it, because people are going to go look. To give some perspective, with no TV deal, no roster, and not really, it's just a kickoff event, in a parking lot, which it was a very well done kickoff event in a parking lot.
Sure
don't
was.
Get me wrong. They are already at Impact ratings.
Absolutely. Impact
draws about 100,000 viewers a week. Give or take, they're right around that 100K number, 105. Sometimes I think they peaked. I was looking at that earlier today. I think they peaked last week, or the last live show of 2018, the last real show. I think it peaked at like 112K. Mm-hmm. So with no TV deal and nothing in place other than just the excitement and the buzz that they have created, by creating, developing this new promotion, they're already challenging Impact.
At 5 p.m. Eastern time, 2 o'clock Pacific time as well. Like, I mean, this is while people are at work or transit.
That's it's very true.
Yeah.
Thankfully, but the good part about that is because it was social media, it was web-based. A lot of people watching on their phones. I was watching on my phone. So that's a huge challenge that Impact's on a really crappy network. They're going to an even crappier network.
Did you hear the Impact news since we're talking about it?
Which news is this?
They announced that they will be live streaming their shows at the same time that it's on TV via Twitch. So now there's no excuse not to watch is the tagline for Impact Wrestling. There's no excuse not to watch because it's going to be live streamed on Twitch every Friday.
That's probably going to make it easier to find Impact.
Yeah.
Anything to make Impact easier to find at this point is a good thing.
Yep.
Because it's impossible to find. But you have AEW already challenging Impact in terms of like relevancy, just in raw numbers. I think that's significant. Let's start. Let's try and go in order a little bit and unpack what we saw and really dive deep. Cody. Let's start with Cody. Cody came out.
Hold on. Why don't we start with the? Let's start here by talking about the confirmed roster for All Elite Wrestling, because then we can move through from there.
Let's talk confirmed roster.
As you said, I think you mentioned a gentleman there who came out just now.
Well, obviously we knew the Cody and the Bucks they're both executives.
Yes.
It's their promotion in the sense that they're bringing, the heat and the excitement and the name and some of the properties. And the Khan family, most notably Tony Khan, is the primary and principal backer, and it's being reported that he is going to be the president of the company. And by reported, I mean this is the other exciting part, and I'm sure we'll talk about this more. It's not just dirt sheets that are reporting this stuff now. Yeah. I've been going to Forbes to get my information in the last probably 72 hours. Yeah. CBS News is reporting on this. CBS Sports. Like major sport outlets are covering this. This is very exciting. So obviously you have Cody and you have the Bucks. Everybody knew that was going to happen. Hangman Page.
Yes.
Very exciting news. Obviously, there's some expected ones we knew. SCU, another who didn't expect that to happen? It leaked a couple days ago, but we kind of knew that was coming.
Britt Baker.
That was announced. The first woman of the women's division was announced.
Brandy, obviously, as well.
But Brandy, they've been pushing Brandy. She's chief brand officer. So
I'm sure she'll be in the ring as well at some point.
It'll be interesting to see how much she's in the ring and how much we see. Obviously, we're going to see Cody and the Bucks, but how highlighted are they going to be? Because they are executives. Every time you have somebody that is running the booking or in a management executive position, and they're constantly booked on top, that is constantly, forever in the history of wrestling, it has drawn criticism.
Yes.
Going all the way back to Kevin Sullivan and the Dungeon of Doom. So,
yes.
Let's not forget that. And I think they did a good thing today by, it was Paige that came out and made first reference to the championship.
Yes.
I think that's very smart. That was incredibly smart. A couple of Joey Janela. I didn't know. I didn't think we'd see him wrestle until for a while. Yeah. With all those injuries he had and all those surgeries he had, he looked good.
It's not confirmed that he's going to be on the very first show. It's just he's part of the roster, so we'll see what happens. Part of the roster,
but they did set up an angle with him.
Yes, they did.
With MJF. Which, look, guys, that was, I got to be honest, one of my critiques is, he comes out and he's trying to get heat, and that's great. I love heels. I love real heels, like people that are going to get. You might want to not have Conrad be in that position. He's attacking Conrad for being fat, okay? Mm. And I'm looking at Conrad off to the left side of the stage, and I'm looking at him, and I'm like, look, bootleg EC3. Conrad looks like he could walk over and twist your head off like a pop top.
Yeah.
And that's the problem. Mm-hmm. When you're MC, master of ceremonies type host person, looks more intimidating than really your first announced heel.
Yes.
That might be an issue. Thankfully, we did get to see another heel, and in my opinion, the biggest surprise of the event, and that would be Pac.
In full ring gear.
In full ring gear.
Oh, I loved it.
Title.
Showing up in a parking lot at a rally in full ring gear with his belt, and I'm like, oh, I love it. It's so good.
Well, he just wants to show off because he's just yoked, man. He's always been yoked, but he's extra yoked lately. So I think he just wanted to show off that physique. If you got it, flaunt.
Makes sense to me.
I'm really excited to see him back in the U.S. And I think they did a really good job of concealing the fact that he was going to be a part of it. I I know that, there were a few things like, oh, maybe Pac, he's kind of out there, but he had signed with Dragon's Gate, and it was such a big deal. We didn't know exactly the terms of the contract, things like that.
And more people were talking about him in New Japan than anything else. Like, a lot of people were like, oh, he'd be good in the Bullet Club in New Japan, and oh, he'd be great in the junior division. So I heard nobody saying like, oh, AEW is going to get Pac. Didn't hear that.
And I don't know how true it is, but the last report I saw was that he had signed to a 5-year deal.
Wow.
And I got to scratch my head at that a little bit, and I don't know. That's a dirt sheet report, so take that with a grain of salt. But it does sound like Pac's in for the long haul.
Well, that's the deal Cody and the Bucks have too, with a 5-year.
Well, if they're giving out 5-year deals, and we talked about this, well, let's get through the rest of the talent, because the one that really legitimizes the entire promotion. No offense to Cody, no offense to the Bucks or Hangman or any of these guys.
Yep.
The fact that they have Chris Jericho legitimizes this promotion.
Yeah, it puts AEW on the list.
It does put AEW on the list in a very real sort of way. I was thinking about this, and you'd be hard pressed to name a wrestler in the last 20 years that's better than Chris Jericho.
Yeah, I mean, long haul. Yeah.
There are people who had hotter runs for periods of time and maybe made a little more money in shorter periods of time. But when you're talking a body of work, as we go into 2019, and it was 99 when he made the big switch, and so you're talking 20 years. I don't think there's anybody that has been consistently on top or over that has stayed active that long. And yes, he's had breaks.
Yeah.
He's had Sting-esque breaks.
But as they pointed out in Wrestle Kingdom, rightfully so, Chris Jericho's career, he's never had a major injury that put him out for an extended period. Like,
knock on.
Yeah,
like,
all his time off is him taking time off to do other ventures, which still kept him in the spotlight. I mean, he still had, still in the spotlight with Fozzy. He was still in the spotlight on Dancing with the Stars. Like, he still had, people talking about him and people, paying to see him. So, in that regard, you look at other guys who like have taken time off for injuries or taking time off to try to make a career somewhere else. Jericho took time off while having a career somewhere else, which is a completely different thing.
Yep, and it is a completely different thing. He's always stayed relevant. He's always reinvented himself. He can be face. He can be heel. This is a guy who he kind of is the guy that he doesn't need a title.
Mm-hmm.
He's going to be able to be second main event guy, the guy you put in the match right before the title match, and it's just going to be crazy good because he's going to cut promos, and he's going to, if you've watched any of his New Japan work in the last couple of years, I think that's what we're going to see. Yeah. We're not going to see fluffy WWE Jericho.
I would hope not. I like this new iteration of Chris Jericho.
It's very exciting. I think we should also mention the promotion has worked out a talent sharing agreement of some sort with a promotion in China.
Correct.
Which is interesting because that was one of the things that people have been asking. Are they going to work with Ring of Honor? Are they going to work with New Japan? Who are they going to work with?
Yep.
Yeah, you don't think that Ring of Honor is necessarily a possibility because they are going to be direct competition. That doesn't mean this isn't going to happen.
Reports now say that both New Japan and Ring of Honor are not going to be working with them and will be continuing their deal to exchange with each other instead. So,
which makes sense.
Yeah.
You do need, and again, they are building this roster from scratch. So it is a very compact roster currently. it does need to be filled out quite a bit. Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, that nobody can deny that. This was a very good stepping stone to announce that they are signing talent. The fact that they've announced Pac, they've announced Jericho. I would imagine the next big announcement will be Kenny. It does look like reports are pointing, and like you said, like some of the stuff from Being the Elite, and it does appear that Kenny, he gave the interview. He's leaving New Japan. I think WWE still has an outside shot, just because if they really want to, I think they can offer him more money than AEW right now. If they threw the Brinks truck at him, they can. Yeah. Because as a startup, it sounds like all the boys and girls in AEW are going to get paid. They're going to get paid well, but just sheer amount of capital. If Vince really wanted to win a bidding war and wanted to drop a Brinks truck on Omega and win him, I think it could be done. I don't think it'll happen though.
One interesting thing, I got into a discussion with somebody online who was very much in the Vince can buy anybody because he's got all the money camp.
Well,
and
no.
We got to discussing it, and I did some Googling and checked out Forbes and some things, and there was an article Forbes put together in, I believe, October that mentioned that the McMahon family currently owns only 47% of the WWE stock, which is still a majority stock above anybody else, but they sold off a large number of stock to put money into the XFL. They also sold off all their money into like Apple, IBM, and other huge stocks for like $14 million worth of stock they sold off there to also invest in the XFL. If they're selling off that large amount of stock, like a large percentage of their value, and that is now invested in the XFL, you have to wonder, like, to win a bidding war, especially beyond Kenny. Like, if we say even beyond Kenny and they want to sign, like, multiple guys, they're going to go into a bidding war against the AEW. At some point, the other stockholders at these stockholder meetings are going to say, hey, you're spending, triple what you are of guys who are currently in the company, and you don't have as high of assets in this company anymore as you used to. Like, that's going to eventually come up.
So this is a really complex issue. And the WWE marks that just think Vince has more money than God and will just buy everybody out of the business because that's what he did with WCW. Most of those are 20-somethings or younger or just very uneducated wrestling fans who don't understand the complexities of the WCW failure to begin with. Yeah. And they don't bother to take time to actually look at, like, all of the facts. You made a very good point there. Vince has shareholders to answer to. He's trying to start a brand new company in the XFL. You also have the complexity of the family share stock versus the general stock in terms of WWE stock. It's really a complex issue. But what I want to look at in terms, when I say raw numbers, WWE has two massive TV deals. Okay, they're getting $500 million from NBC Universal and $500 million from Fox for their two respective shows moving forward. Yeah. Okay, and they have a lot of money,
large amounts of money coming from Saudi Arabia as well.
Now that does not necessarily diminish AEW right out of the gate. I know those are really imposing numbers, but it's realistically, that breaks down to about $200 million a year. It's $100 million a year per show once those new contracts kick in. Yep. Per Forbes.com, this is not a dirt sheet, but this is what Forbes is reporting. Their sources say that Tony Khan has committed $100 million to the startup of AEW.
Correct.
Okay, that is not insignificant money.
Not
and I think we saw that today in terms of some of the audio we saw We
Pyro.
saw Pyro, which I believe was a direct shot across the bow of WWE.
Absolutely.
Because WWE downs, one of the first things they do when they downsize is they take Pyro away.
Correct.
We saw more Pyro for a hype rally than we do on WWE pay-per-view.
Hey, that was my line, you thief.
Well, I'm just saying, like, it's true. With the exception being something like Mania, okay? But like your standard average everyday pay-per-view, let alone a SmackDown or a Raw, where
Correct.
you get nothing.
Yep.
You got more pyro at a rally than you did for a WWE production.
Yes.
I think that's very telling. I also think Cody talking specifically about opportunity is great, but it doesn't pay the bills. That's another shot saying that they're going to pay their talent.
Saying that they're going to pay the women the same amount that they do the men on the roster and treat them equally. I think that was a bit of a shot as well.
I do too. It'll be interesting to see how their pay structure, and see the difference is we're going to have a harder time finding out what people over at AEW, how the payouts are working and what their contracts look like, because they're not it's a private company. So it's not going to be publicly accessible. I'm sure some of that will come out, but it will probably be a little bit harder. But it does sound like what that is, hey guys, you're going to get paid and make money here. Mm-hmm. If you come and you're going to get paid. It's not about, we've heard all the stories about Vince, come here and you'll make more money than you ever made in your life. The reason he can do that, and the reason he's been able to do that, is in many cases he's been very honest about that. In some, not as much. Going back as far as like Ted DiBiase, he did that to Ted DiBiase. Wouldn't tell him what the gimmick was until he committed, and just told DiBiase, if you have, if you want to have faith in this, I'll give you opportunity. I'll make you more money than you've ever made. Yep. And DiBiase made the move, and then he told him the gimmick, and he was really glad he made the move because DiBiase had one of the best gimmicks in wrestling history. Mm-hmm. Because he lived his gimmick. He got first class everything, limoed everything, because that, it was still the 80s and 90s, kayfabe 100%. Amazing. And he did. And DiBiase deserved it because he was an amazing guy.
Speaking of first class everything, did you see that they flew the Bucks in from Japan on a private jet today to make sure they got to the rally in time?
It sounds like that was out of necessity.
Yeah, but still, man, when's the last time WWE flew anybody in on a private jet?
I don't know. It's probably like a private, charter. They do charters when they go to Europe, and probably Saudi Arabia. And it's a charter for the whole company. They charter a 747 or 757 or whatever. Mm-hmm. But it was a big deal. They needed to be there. They got him there. It really does, though. The $100 million is a statement saying we're here. We're not going anyplace. And this is something we're planning on building. Now, everybody is right. All the talking heads, which we are not. We're just a couple of fans who, enjoy talking about it. But the insiders and the people who are in the know, the experts, whatever. The one thing, that they're absolutely right about is you got to have TV.
Absolutely.
Got to have TV, and it's got to be better than what Impact had.
Yes.
It's got to be better than what Ring of Honor had. Yes. You have to have cable network, basic cable type TV. You need, and I know everybody, we're seeing speculation about TBS, TNT, and I think that gets everybody fired up because they, the older fans think Monday Night Wars, but any of those networks, something that's on the, that USA, TBS, TNT-ish lineup, wherever that is. that is really what they need to take this to the next level. Is Tony Khan the guy that can make that happen? I think there's a very good chance that is why Cody and the Bucks said yes. Not just the $100 million, but his contacts, because he is the de facto owner of the Jaguars. Yes, I understand, and I would really want to get into the details about, Tony. People will be like, well, it's his dad that owns everything. Well, technically, yes. Shahid Khan is the owner.
Yeah.
Tony runs it.
Yep.
Tony's the executive. Tony kind of handles day to day. It sounds like, the Khan family as a whole.
Yeah.
Is worth a lot of money, and they're committing to this. So when somebody's like, well, it's his dad. The other thing that I think is laughable is I hear people comparing this to Dixie Carter. And that drives me insane, okay? Yeah. Tony Khan is not Dixie Carter. This is not a shiny toy in the toy box. This is a guy who's been an Observer subscriber since he was 7.
Yep.
Okay? This is a hardcore fan.
Mm-hmm.
Like a hardcore wrestling fan. That also happens to directly manage 2 successful sports franchises. I don't know. I like what I'm seeing.
Yeah, me too.
But when you're talking about that sort of mojo, I know, people criticize Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a tough market for football. It just is. They haven't had a very good team. They had the team the 90s that was okay with Brunel and stuff for a while, but they've only owned that team since 2011, and they're trying to recoup it. And we know in the NFL, sometimes you can do a fast turnaround. Other times, like Cleveland Browns, you're waiting 20 years.
Or, the Lions.
Yeah. Anyway, but this is also a guy who owns, Fulham FC in the most prestigious soccer league in the world, in the Premier League in England. And I mean, that's a very successful team over there.
Correct.
This is not, bottom feeding nothing. This is a guy that has a lot of business experience, a lot of connections. Those NFL connections definitely are going to help him. I think his name and his money also is bringing in that outside interest like we haven't seen in a long time, where you are having CBS Sports and NBC Sports covering something besides WWE. And even their coverage is sporadic. I mean, ESPN just started to really get into covering WWE, but that's because they kind of worked out that deal with WWE to, they've got a lot of ESPN guys that are kind of working for the WWE as well, and podcasting and things like that. So there's almost like a co-op there.
Correct.
You haven't seen independent coverage like this in a long time.
Nope. And I mean, we got some other big news out of this. So Double or Nothing at the MGM Grand in Las Vegas in May. That's a big news.
Huge.
Yeah.
That's a big. I worry a little bit though. It's their second big show. Mm-hmm. Vegas is the perfect place to do it though. Like, I mean, it really is. It doesn't take a lot to convince people to go to Vegas.
Yep.
You can draw from Southern California. It's a car ride from Southern California. It's a major hub, things like that. But how many people are going to be tapped out from March? That's the big question.
Yeah,
because
but then the other question is how much is that announcement of Starrcast 2 going to help convince people that they need to just figure that out? Because that's been announced too. They're going to have Starrcast 2 as part of the weekend, so it's going to be a full weekend thing, just like it was in Chicago. And people who missed it in Chicago have been told that, hey, this is like wrestling homecoming. This is where you get to live, sleep, eat wrestling. You get to, walk through a hotel and just bump into people who you've been fans of your whole life and talk to them. This is where you get to sit at the bar next to like professional wrestlers and have drinks with them. This is a fan experience not to be missed. So now you have, the show and the fan experience.
I understand that. It's tough because like you're a great example of this. You're planning on going to New York in March.
Correct.
For Supercard.
Yep.
You're locked into that. You've got a lot of money tied up into that. It's a big deal. There's 14,000 people doing that.
Mm-hmm.
On top, and that's just Supercard on top of Mania weekend.
Yep.
A lot. It's just. My concern is you had so many people travel for All In, and now you're going Double or Nothing, and it's 2 months following the Mania weekend. Okay,
yeah.
That's a real big financial burden on wrestling fans. I'm not saying that it can't be successful, but it is something that warrants taking a deep breath and saying, I hope that doesn't impact attendance.
Yeah. Well,
that's what I'm thinking.
The thing is, I would be going to All In 2 and Starrcast 2 if it were in Detroit, Chicago, Indianapolis, probably Cleveland, Detroit, because it's closer. So you got to figure all those people in California, in Las Vegas, in the Arizona area, those people who, some of them probably didn't fly in for All In. This is their opportunity to, go to that kind of show, and you're on the opposite side of the country. So the hope is maybe that they're going to draw, from a group that they maybe didn't draw from as heavily, for the first show.
Yeah. I agree. Again, I totally agree with that. I see how it could work. It is something that would give me a little bit of pause, because All In was, it was September. It was way far away from, Mania, which is like, the crown jewel.
Mm-hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens. Do I think it's going to be successful? Yes. I haven't looked yet. It'll be interesting to see. I don't know what the capacity is at MGM.
Yeah.
If it's comparable, or if it's MSG comparable, if it's like 14.
Yeah.
I do hope they sell out. I really do. I want this to be successful. They've also announced their third show for Jacksonville.
Yep.
So they're going to come back east. They did not announce a date. I haven't seen a date on that yet.
I have not seen a date yet either.
But I would imagine it'll probably be in like July, or I hope they don't. Man, if they're going to do it, you would assume that they're going to do it at TIAA because they own the stadium, right?
Yeah, that would be a good idea.
Even if it's half empty.
Yeah.
Doing it in the stadium would just make sense.
Yep.
Yeah, maybe September again, because of the heat. July or August in Florida in an outdoor venue is not necessarily always the most pleasant thing.
Yeah. Now the question we have to ask is, we already know they're doing a Jericho Cruise too. He mentioned that after the Jericho Cruise. So the question is, I would assume that it's probably not going to be ROH and New Japan this time. It's probably going to be AEW. So you also don't want to book, if you're booking September, I think the Jericho Cruise is October. And I don't know if you want to be booking those two things both out of Florida within a month of each other.
These are all things they need to consider. I think, man, there's just so much. It was such an exciting day. And just we did get so much information. They do need to get, being a little critical, they do need to work on their production a little more. It was definitely better than All In.
Yep.
But if they're going to play at that next level and they're going to change things, I know specifically the YouTube feed had audio issues.
Both the YouTube and the Twitter feed went down just before it started, and they had to bring it back up.
And they had to reboot it. And I would assume that, especially if they're doing cable deal, that's going to get better.
Yep.
But these are the little things and technical things happen, but you need, especially with the kind of budget they're talking about and the direction they're talking about going in, these are things that need to continue to work out. So I don't want to be overly harsh.
Well, it's good they have a couple guys backstage who seem to know what they're doing. We didn't touch on those other 2 signings that they did for backstage personnel.
One of my least favorite wrestlers, a real heel. The last time I saw him, I told him to kill himself. True story.
Yep.
That'd be BJ Whitmer.
Yeah. And then today they announced that they signed the Yes Man.
Billy Gunn. And I think, talking about that, I've seen a lot of criticism about him being named a producer,
mm-hmm.
and I don't understand why. I don't get why. He's got a resume that would suggest he could do the job. Yeah. I mean, I don't know what producer is going to mean in AEW. We need to kind of figure out like what that means. Is producer like he's going to be doing like hands-on production type stuff? Is producer like booker, agent? Like what are these titles?
I'm assuming it's going to be a Kevin Dunn style role.
And I see if it's a Kevin Dunn style role, I don't know if he might necessarily be the best guy for that. Maybe he gets paired with a guy that is very, very technically savvy and has a lot of TV experience.
Well, I mean, he did it for All In, and he's done backstage stuff of that nature for Ring of Honor. So he's got the experience in doing.
He does have some experience, but I think again, if you're gonna change the universe of wrestling, change the face of wrestling, you have to step up another level beyond Ring of Honor in terms of production. One of my issues for years with Ring of Honor was the level of production. I remember when they switched to HD cam. That was a big deal. It helped a lot. But for years, Ring of Honor was just hard to watch because the lighting was so poor.
Now,
until they switched to HD cams. Now, they have the advantage. You can tell already they're starting with HD equipment and technology. That's a great improvement. It sounds like they have some really good audio equipment in the back end. Doing the podcast a little bit, I thankfully, Bob, you've learned how to use the audio equipment because I'm not there, but I've done a fair amount of research into the audio equipment, which leads you down the rabbit hole of like dream setup, and giant 40 channel boards with lots of fun features and stadium style, concert style production level, TV style production, all these things. And you go down these rabbit holes and start reading about the equipment, and then you see the price tag, and that's why you buy a used Behringer mixer like we did.
Yes.
They have the money, and it sounds like they've already started investing in very solid equipment because when they were doing audio, it sounded very good today, with the exception of another criticism I've seen from all these. I don't understand some of these marks, man. They were talking about how the rally was dead, how there was no reaction to anything that was going on.
They don't understand a production of a wrestling show. I mean, you have to understand that, like, there's microphones in the crowd to pick up the crowd sound. There's the microphone in the ring to pick up sound in the ring, and these fans just don't quite get that's a thing that is put into production, and it's not going to be there at a rally.
I mean, especially, and they didn't do it. They didn't pipe in. They didn't have ambient crowd noise for All In One.
Yep.
It just wasn't like. But that, again, that's a stadium. That was an arena. That was an enclosed arena. So you still could tell that the crowd was marking out and popping. When you're outdoors, okay, all that noise dissipates.
Yep.
That's why Mania, now that Mania is held in stadiums, primarily outdoors, even with the crowd being mic'd, the pops aren't as loud. They don't sound as loud as they used to.
Correct.
They're probably louder because there's 70 or 80,000 people there.
Yep.
When you're setting in the stadium, it is probably mind-shatteringly, earth-shakingly loud.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
but a good example for folks is I was at the Pro Wrestling Store grand opening. I was there live, and WGN did an interview with Kenny Omega. It was his birthday, and they did an interview with him and the rest of the elite inside the store. And while they're in the store, everybody outside is chanting the elite, the elite, and it is crazy loud. And people are yelling "Happy birthday, Kenny!" And it's just ruckus crowd. And I watched that footage back via WGN later. I found it on their webpage, and you're not picking up almost any noise at all from outside. And, they had their giant roll door open, so it wasn't like the sound couldn't get in. It's just that those cameras aren't set to pick up crowd noise from, away from the stage.
They're using unidirectional mics or cardioid mics and things like that are meant to pick up the speech of the person talking into it, not the ambient crowd noise.
Correct.
So when you see, it just annoys me. A lot of the comments and just the sheer inept nature of the way people are handling this. People are just dismissing the promotion. And again, this may all fall apart in 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know. Maybe the no TV deal gets done. They have a rash of injuries. The business goes south. Who knows?
Yeah.
You can't predict those things. All you can do is you can assemble the best possible talent, and you can manage them in a highly productive way to create ongoing narratives that it would encourage people to watch, things that are exciting and compelling to see on a weekly basis or a monthly basis or whatever your format's going to be. That's what they need to concentrate on. You can't worry about the injuries. Of course, you want to make sure you always have something in reserve, but you just can't say, well, it's going to happen. They're just going to fail. Well, there's no indication that is going to happen, because this is eerily similar to how the Monday Night Wars started. Okay. Wrestling was at a real low point. WWE specifically was being rejected by the fans. WWE talent wasn't particularly happy. They had record low ratings, and not just WWE, but I mean, wrestling promotions across the board had record low ratings. But in this case, it's WWE is facing record low ratings.
Yep.
There's an opening for something different. And when Cody said wins and losses are going to matter more than ever, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge.
That's something WWE has said the exact opposite, and it's, I think, telling, because it's hard for me to imagine you're not going to see in any legitimate sport a coach or a general manager come out and be like, wins and losses don't matter. You're never going to hear that. And for WWE being a sports entertainment, keyword in there being sports, to come out and be like, wins and losses don't matter. I don't know. I don't understand how they thought that could, make sense to a fan base. And the idea that they're going to matter, more than ever, excites me. This is what I want to hear. I want to hear it being treated like it is, legitimate and treated seriously, and not treated as like a soap opera or something that, you can walk away from one day and walk back to a couple weeks later and not have to worry about it because wins and losses don't matter.
Right. And another big shot that they took was directly at the idea that you can't cheer or boo who you want.
Yeah.
I do have a little bit of a reservation where they said that they're making it a point to really say that they're working for the fans, which is good and bad. I feel like the way they're presenting it, at least currently, is a positive, but that's how WWE, in a way, got booked into the corner that they're in, where they're beholden to the fans. The fans think that WWE owes them something. It's going to be incumbent on AEW to present a product that drives the fans to think that they are getting or being deprived of what they want.
I think the key is not to promise them stuff that they can't deliver on. I think that's where one of WWE's big problems is. They tell the fans, hey, we make this for you. It's what's best for business is, making the fans happy. But then they're like, oh, here's this universe title. It's about the WWE universe. That's why it's named this. This is the fans title. And then they put it on people that the fans absolutely can't stand. They mentioned that, the women's evolution couldn't happen without you fans. It's you fans who pushed for this. But then the women they want, on top are, buried in the bottom of the card, like Becky Lynch was. So, the fans start cheering somebody and like them, like Braun Strowman, and WWE immediately turns them heel. It's taking the idea of we're doing this for you and turning it on its head because they're actually doing the exact opposite of what people are asking them to do.
And I think we're going to see that in the booking at AEW. I think we're going to see, if somebody is trying to get over as a heel and they are getting over as a heel, you're going to see more heel booking. Because we all know that's the way things, kind of used to be handled, is when the crowd would get tired out on something, that's when you do your switch.
Yep.
Or that's when they go away for a little while. It's like, like Cornette says, how could we ever love you? How can we miss you if you won't go away?
Yep.
And that's a huge WWE problem. They just won't take people off TV for, a couple of months to kind of freshen them up.
They won't take their top mid-card and top guys off TV, but they'll take their mid-card and lower mid-card guys off TV for, months at a time and then just insert them into something randomly. Yeah.
There really is a lot of positives coming out of AEW. The marks out there that are just talking out their butts.
Yep.
About and just saying it's okay to, all right, if it's an opinion. Like I saw one post just about an hour before we came on. A guy said Jericho had ruined his career by signing with AEW. All right, that's an opinion. Mm-hmm. It's probably not a really well-informed opinion. If you were to go out and say, I really don't like Jericho signing with AEW, I don't think it's a good fit. Yep. Okay, that's a legit opinion. You can say that and be like, well, maybe it is, maybe it's not. What are your reasons? I want to see the WWE. I like WWE. Mm-hmm. Okay, that's an opinion. But just the amount of crap that people just make up and spew, including the dirt sheets, man. It is, like I said, I've been trying to go. Forbes really started covering this about a week ago with articles, so I've been trying to go to more legit publications. I like Meltzer for the most part, but even Meltzer reaches sometimes. Yeah. Like, he's not immune to it, okay? And he does seem to, now that the promotion's a reality, like, he was very hands-off, almost too hands-off. So maybe he is getting, pipeline some information. And it's I scratch your back, you scratch mine sort of agreement right now, because he was I don't want to talk about it, I don't want to speculate on it, and then all of a sudden he's talking about nothing but, right? I don't know, but the dirt sheets are just, it's real tough, man. It's all clickbait. It's all speculation, and speculation's fine. Like, as fans, like, I want to speculate a little bit, and I've got a question for you, Bob, but I talk about it as speculation. You talk about it as speculation. We talk about it as fans. We're talking about opinions and what we think as fans, like longtime fans who have watched products of varying levels, and we're giving our opinion.
And we fill out our opinion. It's not a simple this is what's happening and leave it at that. It's this is what's happening and why.
And we also present it as opinion, and we don't say like I'm not out here saying that I'm an expert. I say I'm a fan.
Yep.
Am I a fan who dives in pretty deep? Yes, I am. But I'm not an expert. I've never taken a bump, not in a ring. I mean, in the backyard, sure.
Yep.
Messing around, when I was 12, when I was 6, I was dropping superfly elbows off the headboard, of course. Like, but I've never taken bumps. I've never laid out a match or worked a match, and that's, I understand listening to experts, like when the greats say this is what makes something good. Okay, and then I see it and I agree with it. That's how my opinion is formulated. But everything we do is presented as opinion. Okay, I'm not out here, saying reporting things as hard news. And there are dirt sheets that report stuff as hard news and get clickbait taglines and headlines up, and it's almost unbearable, and it's been really bad the last month and a half.
Yep.
And
I mean, one of the problems is it turns fans off and immediately makes them suspicious of anything that is like presented online. They immediately become suspicious of it, and oh, that's a work, and this is fake news, this is a lie, and immediately. And
you do have to take things with a grain of salt, and kind of. Okay, this is, if you see it coming, there's been some articles that have been floating around that get reposted by all these dirt sheets.
Yep.
You really have to track down and see if it's just the same report getting reposted over and over again, or if multiple sources are like saying, hey, this is what we're hearing.
Correct.
And usually when you are getting it from more than one, at least semi-reputable source, that's when you can start to give it a little bit of credence.
Yep.
But it's really hard to pick through. So since everybody's playing the speculation game.
Well, before we get to that, or I think I know where you're going. Before we get there, did you happen to see how WWE responded to AEW and their rally tonight?
Oh, you mean by barring people with AEW merchandise from buying Smackdown tickets?
Specifically, folks from Pro Wrestling Tees, who then, when they came back, had their camera phone on them, and the security guys came up and apologized to them because we were told now we can let people with those shirts in after the guys went back and changed shirts. Yeah.
Yeah. People were showing up with, and there are multiple reports that this happened to more than one person. The Pro Wrestling Tees getting shared around is probably the biggest one, but there were some tweets. Security was preventing people with AEW gear from entering the arena, and people who did manage to get in the arena were being removed.
Yes.
From the arena if they were wearing AEW gear.
And they were not being allowed to buy merch to put on instead of it. They were told they needed to leave and come back without it on.
Yep, there was one report. There was one person that was tweeting, and he said he had offered security. He said, okay, I'll go buy a WWE shirt and put that on. And they said, no, you have to leave. Mm-hmm. Talk about tone deaf, man.
Yep.
The other thing is they removed Jericho from the WWE website like 2 minutes after he showed up.
Yeah, that was quick.
Okay, all right, I get it. That's kind of your thing. You always do that.
Yeah.
But it is so incredibly tone deaf and out of touch with your audience and your fan base.
Yep.
To not allow AEW merchandise into your event.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? I'm not a big fan of even censoring signs
There were.
But I kind of get that.
So at All In, there were a group of like 4 or 5 guys. They were at Starrcast 2, who obviously were just trolling everybody because they were rocking all Shield and Roman Reigns stuff, and they're at the bar drinking, going ooh ah, and they wore that to All In, and nobody said anything like, hey, you can't wear that here, or there was no problem with it. So yeah, it's a situation where WWE feels like they can silence their fan base. This is back down to the not allowing their fans to boo who they want, and lowering the audio when they boo somebody they want to be a face. It's the same as when they confiscate signs. I mean, it's WWE trying to control what their fans think and put out a message they want put out, and doing that just alienates people.
It's another reason why you see attendance slipping, why you see excitement for a new promotion, and it does nothing but help. It really it ignites that hardcore fan base that's looking for an alternative. They're going to galvanize around AEW, like the hardcore fans of Ring of Honor, New Japan, the people who love the Bucks and Cody and everything, and were Bullet Club guys for so long. When they see WWE do that, that's the big guy trying to keep the boys down.
Yep.
That's evil company trying to keep the boys down. All that's going to do is increase the rabid nature of those fans. That it's already there. It's just going to stoke that fire. Mm-hmm. So go ahead, WWE. If I'm Cody right now, I'm laughing.
Yep.
I'm laughing because, man, that's free publicity on the same day, and it just helps your cause.
Absolutely. But we were talking about speculation, so maybe we should discuss the All Elite Wrestling roster wish list. Let's talk about some folks we would like to see as part of the AEW roster. And let's try to be realistic.
Yeah, we got to put some limits on this, Bob, because I mean,
so I can't say Undertaker.
Yeah, I want to see Undertaker, and I want to see Daniel Bryan and AJ, and no, okay, it's got to be realistic, and what real is. We don't need to put hardcore terms on what realistic is.
Yeah.
All right. I mean, you look at it and you're like, well, they're a top guy at WWE. Randy Orton's not going to AEW, guys. Not happening. So I think we all understand what realistic is versus not realistic.
And the ones who seem, kind of obvious are obviously Kenny Omega and Marty Scurll. They're the 2 guys who haven't signed yet with AEW, who were members of the Elite. So that seems like an obvious 2 to mention off the start.
I didn't even put those on my wish list because it does seem like they're out there, they're interested, and that's the move they're probably going to make.
Yep.
So, I mean, I think I also kind of want to pull we assume we're going to see them there sort of thing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, is Kenny on the wish list? Yeah, he certainly should be, but I mean, that's an obvious one.
Yep.
So these are more of they're not necessarily even hard. There's not hard rumors going around. Maybe they are under current WWE contract, but it expires in the next 12 to 18 months, and they're not a top guy, but they've got top guy talent. Maybe some Impact folk, maybe a Ring of Honor talent or 2. What's out there and what's on? Where do you start with your wish list?
Well, somebody I didn't mention to you earlier, just because I wanted to see how you'd react mentioning it on here. Seems there is a certain Battle Creek, Michigan native who wants to have a WWE contract, and they won't sign him because he's had too many concussions. But other than that, he's passed his physicals. He's available. He's got a big name, and that name is RVD.
The whole fucking show.
Demonetized.
I am. I am not. My Rob Van Dam shirt's at home.
Yep.
So I can't just go running. But you know, so we know RVD's. He's a name. He's got a rep.
Yep.
You know, he can perform. My issue is I would really want to make sure that he's cleared, like really not just cleared, but I would hate to see, especially, you know, Rob's an ECW guy. He took a lot of bumps.
Yeah.
You know, taking a lot of bumps.
My hope would be he wouldn't be doing. My hope would be that with the athletes who we've already seen sign, and the kind of guys that it looks like they're going after, he wouldn't have to be in those kind of hardcore matches, like he would in some of these other independent promotions may want him to do.
True story.
Yeah.
I think he could go and he could use his skill and talent, and his experience and playoff. I think there are a few matches that would be really good if he were to, say, make his way to AEW. I think my concern is you know, is he clear? I don't want to see him, you know, really hurt himself, like sustain, you know, permanent injury.
Absolutely.
If he's good to go and he wants to come and they want to have him, I think there's matches there to be had for sure. So I absolutely I can see him being definitely on the wish list. Put him down as a little check mark.
So who do you got? Who you got for your first wish?
I would be remiss, and this is probably the most unrealistic, realistic long shot wish. But if you don't go, and I mean not just like call, not just make an offer, if you don't go and take the time to take your team and maybe even, you know, Tony, Mr. Khan, and fly your happy self to the Windy City and have a set down
with Cole Cabana.
Well, you know, I would not be opposed. I would not be opposed to seeing some Colt Cabana in AEW.
I think he's locked into a commentary contract as well. So
let's not act like the biggest get in wrestling is not Kenny Omega. It's CM Punk. Okay, I'm, and that's not taking anything away from Kenny, but if someone, anyone, anywhere, were able to convince Punk that he could have a little bit of fun wrestling again, link him to some sort of deal, it would be the biggest news on the planet in terms of wrestling news. Okay, that's not to take away from anything that Omega has done in the last 2 years, but Punk is Punk, and that name is money.
Yep.
Okay, and you have the built-in draw. They're building a women's division. You can just have a conversation with him and AJ all at once. Yep. I would be remiss. That's the dream of the wish list. Like you go, you shoot the moon, and if he says no, which he probably will, I understand that. He's said over and over and over again he's done with wrestling. But if you don't try, you're always going to wonder. Yep. Right? Like Absolutely. You're always going to wonder. So you have to try, because that way when he says no, and it's a firm no, and there's like no, you know that you pursued the biggest, most attractive, most money drawing avenue possible. So CM Punk is number one on that fantasy wish list for me, because he is money.
Yep.
Period.
And I mean, as I mentioned to you before, like the match of all matches that you could book with in AEW without stealing a guy who's under long-term WWE contract is Kenny Omega versus CM Punk.
CM Punk.
Yeah. I mean, that match
that would easily sell out, 25,000 seats.
Yep. And
yeah, those people would come.
And if you do it in Chicago,
if you book it, they will come.
Yeah.
So That's wish list number one. Bob, what are you thinking? We've thrown out a couple of big heavy hitter names, man. That's tough to follow. Like RVD, former champion. Punk, huge draw, former champion. What are you thinking?
Well, let's talk a former women's champion who may have just tweeted out that 2019 will be her final year in professional wrestling. Somebody who's taking bookings currently for 2019, and is somebody I absolutely love, having had the opportunity to meet and hang out with her on a handful of occasions, and that would be Victoria, or Tara, as she was known in TNA. She's she's got a history in the WWE. She's somebody who's going to eventually make their Hall of Fame, I have no doubt. And her last year, I mean, why not have her as part of something where she's going to be able to be watched by, thousands and thousands of people, rather than just doing small indie shows.
True story.
Yep.
Like, what do you say to that?
Brings credibility to that women's division as well.
Absolutely. Especially if she only wants to work another year, only wants to take bookings for another year. They could give her a 1-year deal. She could come in, challenge for the title, bring some legitimacy to the women's title, and help bring along the younger women's division. Yep. You need to find a couple of real veteran women to get into that women's division to bring along, the Britt Bakers and whoever else gets signed. Yep. Because I have to assume that is probably going to be the weak point of AEW's, the women's division. Just because WWE really did a good job of locking up the women's talent, like the top tier women's talent.
And a lot of the top women talent out there beyond WWE, I mean, Impact has a pretty solid women's division, and ROH has got a handful of really solid women's wrestlers. I mean, and that takes them off the market for AEW.
I think watching the product, there's a noticeable difference. There's a couple spread out over the other promotions, but they're watching the women's division in the WWE to all the other divisions. There's a noticeable fall off in the quality of matches, and that I think some of that is just the pure rawness and youth, and the WWE women's division really is the highlight of that company right now.
Yeah.
Like it is, they are loaded with talent, and that's where I think AEW may struggle a little, just getting talent in the door. That's why you need a couple of vets there, and you need to bring in some of that raw talent and bring them along. But you do need those established vets. I think Lisa Marie would be a perfect person to steward and help shepherd that division into being, in terms of established former champ, vet type person.
And I mean, it took Ring of Honor a while to even get their women's division to where it is now. So I mean, it's going to be a process.
Impact as well, and I think that's because WWE did decide, they threw so much money at that women's division to get it up, and really they did really scoop up a lot of that talent. Like, that's one thing they've been able to do. They've scooped up and locked up a lot of talent. So one place I think AEW could excel, and it's the other promotions really fall flat. Ring of Honor, probably out of the three existing promotions, the three bigger existing promotions, does the best job. But I feel that they just don't have enough talent to make it interesting. Tag teams, my friends, teams. The WWE has done a horrific job with its tag team division for well over a decade.
You know, something I've noticed about that WB Tag Team division is more often than not, you see those tag titles on guys who were just randomly stuck together in a team more often than you do on guys who are actually a working physical tag team. And I don't understand why that is. I have not come up to any idea of why that would be the case. I mean, but Sheamus and Cesaro, the B team, Rude and Gable. I mean, these guys weren't like a team or a thing. I mean, the Bar became a thing, but like this is just sticking guys together and putting the tag titles on them when you have good tag talent on your roster.
True story, and that's why I think this is a weakness that AEW could exploit if, especially, you've already got the Bucks, but you've got to get some people in there for the Bucks, and that brings me to the Revival, my friend. The Revival. Give me some Revival. Obviously, they're not going to be called the Revival, but
#FTR.
Yeah, #FDR, forever the Revival, right?
You already cursed once in this episode, so I'm going to keep it clean.
Wait. So I think that's two guys. I really like them a lot. I think, the FTR thing, there's a natural rivalry with the Bucks waiting to happen there. Finding a way to rebrand, Fist Not Flips away from I don't know how you do it because, it's a WWE thing.
Mm-hmm.
But you take that bruising old school tag team style versus, the Young Bucks high spot style. The amount of crap talking that absolutely would go on, the promos. I would love to see a tag division that included the Revival, but also, again, exploit that weakness. Give me a solid tag division with real tag teams, and where the tag team championship, especially if you get television, give me some main events where people are fighting for the tag titles.
Mm-hmm.
Make them important. If wins and losses are going to matter more than ever, make those titles so important, and give me main events with the tag teams going after those titles, and make the Revival a big part of that.
Yeah, I agree. And instead of fists not flips, you could go with suplexes not sentons. So there you go.
There's something there.
Yeah.
I'm sure you can figure it out. So I mean, like, Bob, like, really reach down deep. Go deep for me. Go someplace nobody expects to go. What's on the wish list of things you would like to see that maybe nobody has thought about yet?
Well, what about a second generation star who shares a name with his father and a lineage with the Hart family? What about someone like a Flying Brian Pillman Jr.?
Well, I mean, if you could convince Davey Boy Jr. to perhaps stop living in Japan, why not just bring the whole the new Hart Foundation over?
Yeah, I mean, I'd be for that. I think his contract as part of the tag team with Lance Archer over there in NJPW might still be existing, but I bet you might be able to sign Teddy Hart along with Pillman.
I'm just saying, like, if you're gonna have SCU, you need another faction feud with, right?
Yep. I can see that, and I think Brian Pillman's a good young worker. He's got a unique style and look about him. He's somebody who I think can have good matches on the lower to mid card, and you can see him like grow as a performer in somewhere like AEW, which would be fantastic.
I think you're right. I think we've hit a lot of the like realistic ones. We're kind of.
You got any more?
Well, I mean, there's so much talent out there. We could just talk and talk and talk. So let me throw out a couple of rapid fire names real quick. Why throw out a feeler to Jack Swagger.
Yep.
Yeah, he's doing his MMA thing right now. That's only and he's a legit MMA guy. Amateur wrestler. I'm really excited to see how he does and how that progresses. But why not put out a feeler? Hey, what's Damian Sandow doing right now?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's Wade Barrett doing right now? I don't know. Why not find out? There's names out there that WWE, jettisoned. There's names on that roster currently. Where are they going to go? Like, I don't know. Well, maybe we need to see some Kenta action at some point. Maybe 205 Live just ain't going to cut it.
Yeah.
Like there are guys. WWE signed so many people. Eventually, these contracts are going to run out.
Yep.
Okay. Yes, the top guys we said not realistic. They're not going to leave. They're making huge guaranteed money. They're big stars. Why would you leave? Totally respect that. But even to the height of AJ asked for the Randy Orton deal.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't sound like they want to give him the Randy Orton deal. Okay, they took the title off him. Maybe he's a possibility depending on what the work schedule looks like.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe he wants to be home. That's his buddy. Gallows and Anderson are the really obvious ones down that one on the tag team.
Yep.
Could you imagine your tag division just all of a sudden included Gallows and Anderson, FTR, the Bucks,
SCU.
SCU. Hey, why not throw out? I know they're under contract and they're never going to leave, but what about the Briscoes? Can you peel them away from Ring of Honor? Are you kidding me? Could you imagine Briscoes and Gallows and Anderson in AEW?
Oh, so good.
When after those titles?
Yep.
I mean, I'm all in on that. So there are guys, how happy is Kevin Owens going to be when he really gets back and is, doing things?
Last I heard, Sami Zayn hasn't extended his contract. I know Kevin Owens did, but I know Sami Zayn's had not at that time. Is that he's somebody who's going to be coming up in the next year or so?
Is Sami ever going to be able to? I mean, his injury history over the last 2 years has been really bad.
Then again, if he got the shorter schedule, that might play heavily into it.
And speedy recovery to Sami Zayn.
Yes.
But and probably the most intriguing, and I don't know his contract details, but I would be curious, and I'm going to have to look this up. Because the one glaring, I think the other, besides the women's division, there's a couple of weaknesses AEW does have. Women's division talent is going to be thin. You're going to do what you can. Tessa Blanchard, I'm looking in your direction.
I'll throw a name out there for the women's division. They need to sign Leva Bates. I mean, get Leva Bates under contract. That's somebody I would love to see there.
There's some talent there, but that is probably the slimmest talent pool to draw from. Just because there are so many of the top women are under contract to WWE.
It sounds like they've met with a lot of the Japanese women wrestlers as well, as far as what Randy was saying. So that's a good pool to go from. That's
a good thing. Number two is they do lack size. Okay, like I'm not crazy Vince. Everybody's got to be 6'8", but like I said, when your MC looks like he can twist your top, quote unquote, top heel's head off, that's a little bit of a problem. You're gonna need to get some guys that are Cody size, because Cody's probably the biggest guy on the roster, right?
Him and Kenny, yeah. I mean, when Kenny signs, which is assumed at this point, but yeah, like those guys.
Jericho's a little smaller than Cody, but not much. Because Cody's 6'2"-ish.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Realistically, Jericho's about 6.
I think
right?
Kenny's 6'5" if they bring him in.
Oh, I don't think he's that big, is he?
Oh, I can looks it up.
It's not, but they do lack size. They do lack a couple of bigs.
Yep.
You do really need a couple of good bigs. There's a couple out there that there may be some interest. I think you could get some of that in that tag division, especially you get Gallows over. He's a bigger guy. You can round out the bigs, but it is a glaring weakness. You don't have a lot of bigs. And the third one is you need heels. You need heels. Okay.
Kenny's just 6 foot, so yeah, he's not a bigger guy either.
He's not a big guy. I mean, he's not small.
No.
But he's not big either, and they're gonna definitely lack size. But they're also gonna lack that top tier. Like, they need heels, because right now, for the most part, everybody wants to cheer the guys that were announced.
Yep.
Because they're the first ones to come over. And Kenny's not going to get booed if he comes over. So what are you doing for your heels? Where are you getting your heels? Who are going to be your heels?
Mm-hmm.
And the one name that I go back to that is really one of the top heels in wrestling is, how long is Tommaso Ciampa under WWE contract? Because there's no place for him on the main roster. There's just not.
And the way they treated him in regards to the contract for that video game and him not being in the game because they wouldn't pay him, I'm like, I can see that being an issue when it comes to actual contract negotiation for main roster situation.
When is his contract up? Is the big, and again, I don't know. I kind of peek every so often to see who's coming up, and it's hard to find like a compiled list. You'll find like short lists of like big names and the main roster guys and stuff. I would be interested to see specifically when Ciampa's contract is up, because the two best heels in wrestling right now are probably him and Sami Callihan.
Mm-hmm.
And Sami Callihan comes with some issues. Like, let's be honest. He's got that rep of not being the safest guy to work with. He's doing his Impact thing. I don't know if he'd want to move. But I think there are huge matches waiting to happen should a Ciampa become available.
Yeah.
And he would instantly give you a heel that any one of your baby faces could, mix it up with and give you I'm thinking Ciampa Hangman Page, Ciampa Cody, who knows, Ciampa Omega. I'm hoping Jericho goes heel. I think he can get enough heat, especially if he turns on like Cody and they have like a big love fest or something, and then he turns on them.
And my guess is Pac's going to be heel too.
Yeah, Pac's going to be heel, which is good. Like, he came out, he looks like he's going heel. Pac's a great heel,
sure,
but he's really he's kind of, you need some heel, because it's really going to be hard. I'm sure eventually you can turn, Cody or turn Hangman, or eventually.
Yeah.
But again, it's going to be really hard because these are the guys that are making this happen, and the fans really love it.
Yep.
So look at some guys who can maybe come over and do some heel work for you. I guess, another name just to kind of round it out. I don't think it's even possible. I don't think he'll leave just because of his feelings on Ring of Honor. If you didn't take at least a meeting with Jay Lethal and see what interest there was there, you're really missing the boat.
Yep.
Super talented. And he's the one, he's the guy from Ring of Honor that he didn't leave for WWE. All those other guys, that were really tearing it up, there a few years ago, Strong and O'Reilly and Fish and Cole, and the one that stayed was Lethal.
Lethal, yeah,
so
the two J's stayed. Lethal and
yeah.
Briscoe, yeah.
Yeah, the Briscoe and the Briscoes were the other, and I think they stayed because they knew if they went to the WWE, they'd just wind up in bad tag booking hell. So,
I mean, we did talk briefly about like the Revival, some other WWE guys who, when contracts are up, or maybe even if they at some point ask for their release, that I'd love to see make the move. Guys like Ty Dillinger, Long Island Ice Z, Zack Ryder, Mike Kanellis, and Maria Kanellis. They're all being underutilized. I'd love to see them. They've been talented elsewhere. Well, with the exception of Ryder, who's been pretty much in WWE his entire career. The other guys have had decent indie runs in the past, and it's just a shame they're not being used. So maybe this is an opportunity to go somewhere else here when their contracts expire.
Yeah, and let's not forget, James Storm made an appearance, on NXT, and he sat and talked with Triple H, and they were going to offer him a contract.
Yep.
And they did offer him a contract, and it just wasn't the right time. He had a kid come in and some other family stuff, nothing, just, life.
Yeah.
And he doesn't feel it was the right fit, and he kind of, they parted amicably. There was talk as recently as a couple months ago, Storm had looked amazing. He was really focusing on working out and really getting into WWE body shape. And there was some talk that maybe that the time to go to WWE was now. Maybe we see him kind of move. And how do we know? Are they going to keep Bobby Roode around? Is he going to be happy with his position? Do we see a beer money reunion? I don't know. Who knows? Like that's the fun part. We can speculate now. There hasn't been WWE people weren't gonna move, like just unilaterally move to other promotions. Like there wasn't that, very rarely.
Yeah, I mean it's been a long time since we had that situation where you've seen like Christian, Kurt Angle, and Booker T all like head over to TNA from WWE. Like it's been quite a while since then. And now we're finally back to a point where there's a viable another option for guys, and not just older guys, but like younger talent as well.
And again, like nobody's, it's not like Seth Rollins is going to go. Like we're not even, who would say that? I'm sure there's some mark somewhere that is just like a complete like brain dead AEW is the greatest thing since sliced bread mark that is like, well, why wouldn't Seth Rollins go? It's the best thing ever. Like because you're stupid, right? Like
I'd rather they sign Tyler Black anyway.
Brock Lesnar to AEW. Yeah, I get it. You're a complete mark. Got it. But yeah, those mid card guys, even the lower end top tier guys who want lesser schedules, want to be home more. AJ being the notable one. I think AJ's probably kind of the cap. Like he's really like him and maybe Finn.
Yeah. And more so because of the history those guys have with the history of the guys in the company as well. I mean,
there's history there. There's a lot. There's pre-existing relationships, especially if Anderson and Gallows, who are very realistic possibilities when their contracts run out, maybe go do something else. If they go, then you got there's a lot of gears in the works. It becomes a very nuanced situation, and it's hard to paint with big broad strokes again. Then you're talking about, there's a lot of working parts. There's a lot of things in motion. But yeah, it wouldn't surprise me to see like some of the guys that feel like they're maybe not getting used, and especially again, all this is contingent. They got to get TV, and they got to get big, meaningful TV.
Yep.
And I think that's coming. Like I feel like that is something that is coming, and I think that's why we're going to see Double or Nothing really as quickly as we are, because it's not. I mean, yeah, it's 5 months, but that's not a long time for a new promotion to set up a major pay-per-view event in a venue. Okay.
Yep.
Um,
I think that's their kickoff show. I think that they're gonna do this pay-per-view type situation and use it as the way to kickstart the company television. Like following tonight's show, tune in tomorrow.
Either that, or it's their second audition tape. Maybe there's a company that said, okay, if you can do it one more time, we'll give you the TV deal. And there's an intent letter someplace, saying, if you do another one and it's as good or exceeds, all in, then we will proceed with this contract. Yep. Something like that. But I just have a feeling that there are very real and legitimate TV, at least conversations. Like I said, you've seen it, the TNN TBS thing getting reported, but a lot of that I think stems from the same place. We'll have to see, but all this is contingent. Again, no wrestling promotion can be successful without major TV. Like, it needs to be a big TV.
Yep.
Bob, I think we've covered a lot. We're both, I haven't been excited for wrestling in 4 months. I mean, Becky's great to watch on YouTube.
Yep.
Like, she's freaking amazing.
Wrestle Kingdom was good.
I'm working my way. Is Kushida coming to AEW? Like, do we get it?
I mean, we'll see what happens. Yeah.
I mean, there's a talented guy that's just out there. He's leaving Japan. We know that.
And I marked out crazy for his entrance at Wrestle Kingdom. That was one of the best entrances I've seen in a long time.
I'm hoping to really plow through some more Wrestle Kingdom tomorrow. I would like to, get back to at least once a week, Bob. Hopefully life stays fun and exciting, and I can find, hey, we've got this working.
Yeah, we sure
do. Have to get a new headset microphone, I think, but
yeah. As you mentioned at the start of the show, you mentioned the whole Madison Square Garden G1 special that I will be going to. I also have locked in some tickets to another thing that same weekend, and that is the Bullet Club Block Party, which is going to be a full day of buffet food, open bar, games, autographs, photos, just hanging out with the members of the Bullet Club, including, which this is some information that is I think breaking. I haven't seen anybody report this anywhere, but I reached out asking, hey, Chase and Yujiro back with the group, like, either of them going to be there? And Chase replied directly to me, like, hey, I'll see you there, buddy. So I'm excited about that. It looks like the Crown Jewel's going to be at the block party. Their tickets are extremely limited, so if you're somebody looking to get tickets to that, check out Bullet Club Block Party on Twitter. Check out they have a webpage link on there. And I think they had only a couple VIP tickets left and then some general admissions, but it's going to be right before WrestleMania, like a few blocks away. There's going to be a park and ride option, so you can park your car and they'll shuttle you over to the venue for the WrestleMania if you're attending. So should be a heck of a lot of fun.
That sounds pretty good, man. I ain't gonna lie. So, yeah, definitely check that out. It'll be cool hanging with the Bullet Club. They're all gonna be out there hanging.
I don't have to worry about, like, Tama Tonga cutting a promo on me now that he's a good guy. So that's nice.
Haku gonna be there?
Haku is supposed to be there.
Oh, that's worth the price of admission right there.
Absolutely.
go get your Haku like air of awesomeness.
Yeah, and with the VIP ticket, not only do you get your group photo, they're all going to autograph, but then they're each going to you get one item everybody autographs. So like if you have a the Tamatanga action figure that was released and you bring that in, it can be signed. You have a Naku action figure, you want that signed. If you have like a Bullet Club flag, they'll all sign that. Like it's an opportunity to get like multiple items signed, which usually when they do these events they limit it to one. So that's a pretty cool thing.
And food and bar and drinks and like, yeah, that's a good deal, man. Especially like, I mean, you can eat and drink before you go to Mania and then go to Mania and have a great time.
Yep.
So.
Or in our case, eat, drink, hang out, and then start that trek back to Michigan.
Yeah, because I know you're not going to Mania.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah,
like,
and
why would you?
And we got to a point we were looking at like access, and I'm like, yeah, and I'd love to meet Becky Lynch. That'd be cool. I'd love to see AJ again. I'd love to get a chance to finally meet Daniel Bryan, and just waiting for them to release the information because they didn't release information of where they're going to hold it. So you don't know if it's in Jersey or in Brooklyn or in somewhere else in New York. So when you're planning your hotels and stuff of where you're going to be and trying to get from place to place, I have no idea where this is going to be. When Bullet Club Block Party came up, and I'm like, oh, it's in New Jersey. It's kind of on my way out of town. It's on Sunday. I'm like, I'm going to spend my money there, man. Like, WWE, you missed the ball. You didn't get your information out soon enough.
Easy decision.
Yep. Absolutely.
Well, B-Double, I think it's time to kind of wind it down.
You do. What, are you getting tired?
Man, tired was like 3 hours ago. Like
3 hours ago. See, now I wasn't planning on having you in the outro though. So now I switched to the outro screen. It's just me on here and nobody sees you. So that's a bit of a problem. But it's all right.
That's fine. That's fine. Everybody knows that you're just taking over. B-Double taking over.
Man, you don't draw any audience. What are you talking about? I'm the big draw.
I will come over there and I will cut.
We get back to talking about production values. Mine currently are much better than yours.
That is true, man. So, hey, let's do us a favor. Like, subscribe, share, all the media. Hit us up. We love to hear from you guys. Bob, are you ready to super V trigger power bomb the button? I don't know. Like I'm getting one.
Yeah, something of that nature. Make sure to follow us Facebook, Twitter, YouTube. Obviously, we're on Twitch. We do some live streams of WWE 2K19 Universe Mode, and we're also I'm hoping to be doing some Fire Pro Wrestling because I have it. And I'm terrible at it, so a little bit more practice. But for myself, from Travis, Jordan, who I'm sure is in bed at this point, thanks for stopping by, and hopefully we'll be back on our regular schedule soon. Too sweet in the button.